Speed, marker, and action.
This podcast is being recorded at the Motion Picture Institute, the oldest film school in Michigan, training the next generation of filmmakers today. Check out the website motionpicture.edu and schedule a tour now. All right, welcome back to the show. Today I am joined by a very special guest, an MPI alum, graduated in 2013, Jeff Staebler. You are an independent film contractor. You've done some indie work, you've done some big feature work, but you also found yourself in a very wonderful position as the art director for all 4 seasons of the hit TV show, The Chosen.
Yep.
So without further ado, guys, we're going to do a little career deep dive. Let's talk motion picture. Jeff, thank you for being here, sir.
Thank you.
So I guess let's start off simple. What is art direction? Can you define that for us?
Wow. Art direction. Okay. Well, I mean, it really depends on the circumstance. It's that age old.
It's broad.
It is broad. It depends, you know, and that's what I want to say. Like every time I hear somebody, like on your previous podcast, you had Brandon talking about the different roles of production designer and art director. And I'm just like, yeah, you know, it depends. It depends on the size of the show. If it's studio, if it's independent, if it's TV, if it's, you know, talking about the students that are coming right out of MPI and independent film world that they would jump into, you know, that's going to be completely different. The art director could be it, you know, and they've got to do everything, you know. So the production designer that I've been working with, James Cunningham's super amazing. And I've been working with him since 2017. And we had a way of doing work, you know, so I would do everything and anything in my power to make his life as easy as possible. I mean, and that's pretty much the objective, is to make sure that production designer has all the time that he possibly can to do the things that he does best.
So peel that away from me. What does that involve? Like, what's your daily tasks?
Oh, well, I mean, right at the beginning. So it's like, we'd go through phases. And so like season 1 was a little bit different than season 2 and a little bit different than season 3 because of just the growth and the way that we grew as a company. And so at the very beginning, you know, came in and it was, you know, we had a lot of pressure. So we're trying to make something amazing, you know, with a little bit of money at first from just the fans. And so we tried to make every dime count and try and, you know, make the best of what we could. And we didn't have a lot of time because they couldn't afford to bring on people to, you know, spend a year in pre-production to build all these things before we started filming. You know, we had 3 weeks to develop all the sets for the entire season. And then from there, we had to find the locations for all of them. And then we've got to go and determine all of the different set dressing and everything that needed to be done or obtained for that. So, I mean, there was so many things. What I was mostly responsible for were doing all the set designs, the sketches for everything that was being built and get that to the construction department as quick as possible. And at first, it was like whatever I could do to get something to them quickly. And it's a 3D sketch or rendering, quick drawings, whatever it might be. I mean, we started out almost like napkin drawings and then kept growing and growing. And then we had more complicated drawings until in season 4, just now we had set designers from LA. We had, you know, construction guy. We had multiple crews going, you know, so the art department at The Chosen is huge. It's the biggest crew on set. And so we've got so many people that need to understand what that expectation is. What is the goal? You know, so we're pressed for time, and we have to reach the goal for each episode. One, you know, and in season 1, I didn't start until episode 5, so I was there 5, 6, 7, and 8 in season 1, and because when they first started filming, they filmed season 1 in a part 1 and a part 2. So I came on in the part 2 section of season 1 and finished all that. I made it on the TV show. So I'm in one of the episodes. I'm going to have to figure it out.
Are you a cameo?
Yeah, a little cameo. It was one day I'm just looking at my phone and Dallas texted me and said, "Hey, look, you made the show." So I was in the final cut and they could see one of the workers crossing the path in the background. It's ridiculous. But I was there. And so anyways,
I bet I could spot you at that iconic scarf.
Yeah, you know, and it was funny because like this is my first time in Texas, in, I think it was July, August, super freaking hot, so I was like, not real comfortable with, how I'm supposed to be dressed and everything. So one of the set decorator, I believe, is one came up and said that I looked like a zookeeper, and so I had the shoes and and the hat, and that's what is actually on the TV show. So, but funny. And so in season 2, it just kept getting, more complicated. We had more locations. Season 2 is when we introduced Utah and going there and filming. And with that big, huge, beautiful set, it was just amazing.
Well, that's okay. So that's something I want to ask is when you started the show, you said episode 6, how far in advance? Sorry?
Episode 5.
Episode 5. How far in advance did you start designing stuff?
Well, when I landed, so it was...
How much time did you have before that was put onto screen?
It would all depend. So we're trying to see, on average, we had well over 100 sets every season. So all 8 episodes, we're shooting all of them, and we're not shooting them in order. They're trying to go episodic with everything and making it easier for getting through those episodes and then being able to get them to post and process them and get them off to the fans. But we end up, because of locations and cost and everything, having to shoot out of order still a lot of things. And so in Utah, we were able to access this huge set that was built by the Latter-day Saints. And it's amazing, a replica of the temple in Jerusalem, and the people there are they're amazing, and so we had such a great time. And so in 2022, we ended up having that whole location as well as soundstage and builds outside. We were still using a little place in Texas to do some of the filming, where we filmed most of our stuff in the first year, but we'd outgrown that. So just like anything, when we first started in season 1, we had this little kind of like it was a park. It was a Christian park where you could go and see the Ark and all these little things. But they also had a little replica of a town in there that looked the period. And so we used that, but we had to, convert it 1 million times, to get through all the different scenes. So we had one area of this little section of town where we converted it to 5 different sets, over time. It was 5 different things. And then we moved right on the other side of that building, and we used it like 3 or 4 different times as different things, where we're just building up, tearing down, putting something up, just to get to that next thing. So then we had to coordinate all those things in a row so that we knew that we could tear down what was there, the outside of Zebedee's house, tear that all down, and then build the wedding in that same exact place. But this is all happening during filming. So, and then, right next door is the wine press. While that wine press is actually being filmed, we're like within 20 yards of them, building the wedding walls and the wedding for season 1.
So cool.
Yeah, it's great. And, we're working on top of each other. And the goal is really just to get it done, and get there and get the best product that we possibly can. And so we're always James and I are trying to set the expectation, make sure that we're as clear as we possibly can so that all the artists down the row have a good idea of what it is that they need to do, and then the freedom and time to be able to make their art come to life. So we're really trying to pass that opportunity to the next person, let them do their best. And so, we're open to their ways of doing things. We don't want to micromanage because, that we don't have time. We have to get through to the next set. We've got to make sure that every single one of the outdoor walking sets are, groomed, and we have locations picked for them. So we spend a lot of time initially in the beginning of every single one of the seasons going around and finding pretty much every single one of the locations. And there was a beautiful thing that Dallas trusted James and I to go around and find all these locations. And we'd find multiple locations as well to give them options.
Wait, so you were also in charge of finding the locations for the sets you guys would build?
Well, because James and I, and this is like wearing many hats, and so during the growth, of The Chosen, we just kept doing some of the things that we initially started out doing, And so
what you're looking for, right?
That's James, and James and I are sitting there. He has the vision of what it is he wants for this scene. And I'm saying, okay, what about this? What about this? What about this? And he's like, yeah, let's do this one. Let's do this. Let's offer these, and so I'll help pull those together. And then we'll go on a tech scout or a location scout, and I'll share that information. I'll just like, okay, James thinks this one, and this one are good for this scene. So initially, I would spend hours reading those scripts and just memorizing them and memorizing the scene numbers and everything. So when I'm out on these things, I know exactly where we're at. I know the scene number, and I can share that information. I can share what the scene is about and everything. So doing that just made it easier for us in the art department to make sure we had a little check box there and checked for every single one of the locations, for every single one of the scenes for the entire show, so that we weren't going to miss anything. So we weren't just going to go like, oh my gosh, we forgot about that. No, it's not going to happen, because we were on top of it and checked every box, And so we also have, I can't say every single name for the people that are on The Chosen. I wish I could. But I love them all. They're just amazing. So like when we were in the first parts of season 1 and then going into season 2, we got a prop master that's just phenomenal. And so he's been with them, still with them, I believe, to this day. And it changed, the need to really get involved in any of that became almost non-existent. We had time to go focus on the other things. The big, huge draw on us were these sets that all had to get done. And of course, production designer, he's got other things as well that he needs to do. So he's relying on me to get those things done as well. And so wardrobe, same thing. They're phenomenal, amazing group, working independent. James touches base with them to make sure that everything is, working with the brand of the overall film. But Leila has got it on lockdown. She is amazing, and her team is just top notch.
Is that the wardrobe person?
Yep. Yeah. So Leila has been on a ton of shows, and she's just amazing at her job. And so there's never been a failing, and the obstacles and the things that have been put in front of her, and as well as all the rest of the crew as well. But the tasks that have been put in front of them, that wardrobe department, are just amazing that they pulled it off,
So I guess that opens a whole other bag of worms. What is the research like for a show like The Chosen?
Wow, a lot of research. So we're constantly looking at it. Well, luckily, James, my boss, has got a degree in history. So
that helps. Yeah,
that helps. And he's very knowledgeable. He's a great Christian, and so he knows a lot about the Bible. He knows a lot about So and that was great. I learned a ton from him. I was the guy coming in and didn't have as big of a background, and he was always open to explaining.
What is the biggest historical shock? Something that you found out about the period where you're like, oh my goodness, I would have never assumed that.
Oh, I think it's just an overall kind of feel for it. So how you're young and you're going to Bible school and you're sitting there and you're kind of thinking about everything in your head, and it's it seems like it's all kind of black and white, faded, and it looks almost archaeological find, and so. But come to realize, the biggest thing is James brought color into my imagination for that time, when that time everything would have been brand new, So we're looking at it, and there's a little bit of a pull in that we have to make some things look old for the show to make it feel believable, and everything that's really old. But back then it would have been brand new, so it looks
too polished.
But it looks too polished, But still, the color would have been there, and the paintings and all the statues would have been
That's actually
painted
really cool.
real life, So you see all the plain sculptures now where they're washed of all their paint, but they would have been realistic looking, So
even clothes, right? Because you would assume the clothes to be tattered, but they would be mended and.
Yeah, it depends on where you're at. If you're, so we had to take a lot of that into consideration when we were building the town, the city, which was in season 3. So when we moved out of season 2, we started doing, we did the stuff in Utah, and then when we came back to season 3, that's when Dallas was like, we need to find a home, someplace.
Just quick question. Who is Dallas?
Dallas Jenkins. He is the creator, writer.
Dallas Jenkins is the creator, writer of The Chosen. And director.
And director, yeah.
Of The Chosen.
Of The Chosen. And there's multiple writers, and they're amazing too. And it's an opportunity that James and I get to speak with the writers in Dallas and talk to them about the different scenes and what it is that we're creating. So, I mean, it's awesome.
We was talking about the sets, and you were telling me, I think it was season 3, you had to build a really big set.
Right. So Dallas, the creator, so we, James and I started to develop some drawings for a permanent set. A set that would survive and that fans could come back and visit after we're all done. There was going to be a whole educational concept to it, which still could happen. It's a matter of working with the camp. We have Camp Hoblitzel there, amazing place. It's a 1,000-acre camp that they have underprivileged children coming there, and they've got great camps for them. They've got music camps. We're going to do a film camp. This will be our 3rd year. I'm involved with that. And I'm helping direct the film portion of it. And we've got BJ Foreman, awesome. He's our art coordinator in the art department for The Chosen, but he's also a stage manager in Broadway. And he's putting on a nationwide tour of Little Women right now, but he'll be back down to The Chosen soon. But he helps coordinate all this stuff as well. And initially, we were asked to put together a permanent build. And then we put together some options where we could build this on the property. Keep in mind, we're already in process of building a soundstage and outbuildings to work with The Chosen, just for The Chosen. So The Chosen's creating their own studio now too. So they're creating a studio simultaneously while we're building a city and filming simultaneously. So we've got multiple people. We're spread all over the place. But great things are happening, you know? And so we got to a point where we had a couple options for the city, and we flew to LA to talk to Dallas, and Dallas is like, okay, well, I like it, but let's go bigger, you know? And so we came back, redesigned again. So I think this was like the 4th redesign in a month. And then they accepted the next version, which was a fuller scale city.
I was going to say, how often does that happen? You get told to go bigger. That's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. No, it doesn't happen that often. So you got to love it when it does, right? So, yeah, we had the opportunity to go bigger, and we did. We were limited by the space in which we could create because there was a fort that was on the property in Camp Hoblitzel, Fort Tejas. And we tore that down and built in the same footprint area. That was where we agreed upon. It's right on the edge of a little lake, and it's beautiful right there. And I think I've got some aerial imagery that I can.
Oh, yeah. We're going to overlay that for sure.
Okay. There's links you can get from The Chosen. They've done, if you go to The Chosen YouTube channel and the fan page is there, they've got tons of video of,
all of this
sets and
all of this will be in the links for anyone listening or watching. I'll put all of that in the description so they can go check it out.
Okay, perfect. And then, they even have like a fly through of like our soundstage and everything. So, I mean, during the process of like developing this, I had to do renderings and everything. I had to sell this, So James and I are sitting there giving presentations to all the stakeholders. This is what's going to happen. This is how big it's going to be. This is the future uses that we're going to be able to use. This is how many sets we've built into it. We've got one side of the road looks this way. The other side of the road looks this way. There's educational elements in there. We had a butcher. We had a granary, like a Roman granary. There was a baker in there, so we had the oven and everything, really cool looking. Let's see some of the other ones we had. Just straight up markets and all the vendors, and we had a blacksmith and really accurate things too. So that as you go back through there, you can really see what the life of Jesus was like. And we had to make the different areas. So we had to make the kind of the impoverished Jewish area, and we had to make the Roman barracks and where the soldiers would be, and the kind of the Roman side of town and everything. So we built all of that, and we did it in a very short period of time. So once it was approved, we got it to. I had to get an architect as well because we had to get code and drawings and everything done. And we broke ground in February, and we completed a $14 million city roughly by July.
The set cost $14 million.
Roughly, I'm guessing at some prices,
That's
but I mean,
incredible.
it's some what I've heard, but yeah, it's beautiful, and it's got a lot of potential use. I mean,
It's an
anybody
asset
can go
to production,
yeah,
right?
and anybody can go shoot there, I mean, eventually when Chosen's done with it and everything. So, but it's beautiful, and it's on Camp Hoblitzell, like I said, and my dear friends there, Casey Bilberry is a great friend, and we have great conversations. And he is the one that's also helping put this film camp on.
Well, I think what's interesting about them building such a big set, such an expensive set as well, is I'd never considered that. But when just for anyone listening who hasn't any idea, when they build sets for films or TV shows, they either pick a location and decorate the shot that they're going to get, not the whole set, or they build the shot that they're going to shoot in. They build that scene, that piece, just that piece. And this is all to cut down cost. But what The Chosen did, which is really, really cool, is they said, we're going to have a show that's going to come back to locations because we're following the character of Jesus and his life. He's going to come back to certain places. It'll be way more beneficial to production to just spend the upfront cost, build the entire village with multiple uses that can be refurbished to look like different locations, and then we can just have that for multiple seasons and cut down cost, which is amazing. What a great foresight. Where did that idea come from? Did you guys pitch that to them?
It started with Dallas. I mean, Dallas wanted a kind of a home, and it's really, he said, we got to find ourselves a home, and so they looked all over the place.
What a wonderful way to phrase that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and that's where we got the soundstage started going. And then we're like, okay, well, we need to build some sort of a little town, and it started out small. It was only going to be like 100 foot by 100 foot, now it spans 2 acres, so it's that's like, amazing. Yeah, it's huge. And we've got a mikvah, we've got a full,
what's the word? Tell me, Jeff.
Yes.
Is it
synagogue?
A synagogue?
Gosh, the synagogue. Yeah. And I mean, I've gone and I've done a million tours. So like I was saying earlier, is like, we had to pitch this stuff, so we had to make, renderings of what it is that we wanted to build. And then after we were done with that, we made a miniature model of the whole thing, 4 foot by 4 foot of the entire city.
Nice.
And we took that to
a good maquette.
NRB, National Religious Broadcast Convention that was in Grapevine in Dallas, and put it up, tons of fans and investors and everybody came by and saw the model and everything. And then within a month after that, we were locking in the contract, the final plans, and getting ready to go. So it was a lot of fun. It was very stressful.
I bet it was surreal when they were building it.
Yeah.
The whole life size.
It was, and the whole thing is like, so here enters in, again, like, I want to celebrate the people that have been on The Chosen, the past people that aren't there anymore, that made a big difference, that did amazing work, and then there's some that are still there, just still going on. So, starting like in season 2, when we just started talking about the breaking the ground for the sound stage, and Dallas wanted to find a home and everything, ran into this guy, John Hart, and he started to do a lot of the earthwork for us initially, getting us just going in the right direction. And he does kingdom work. And so he helped us on season 2, making, just for free, making a field that we used for Melek's farm, and making the roads with his bobcat for all the walk and talks that we did, So we got the walk and talks and the park and barks where we, have to make tents and camps and everything. So he helped us with a ton of things. And that led into him being the one to general contract the entire city build. So it was amazing, and he brought on a lot of really great people. So, his crew of Mike and Sarah were just amazing. And then Dan Tuman, he came from Michigan, one of my friends, also one of the people that started on The Chosen back when it was on the farm in Illinois and a pilot for a church, and he came on, and he was critical in making sure that he was there every single day, making sure that. So the people, like I mentioned, Dan Tuman, and he worked with the Keys in John's group, and John had Mike and Greg and Shannon and Zach. Zach did like every single piece of foam in that whole place. I mean, coordinated the whole thing, so, and we had foam suppliers, rock suppliers for
How much foam do you guys go through?
Oh,
because that's like all the shaping, right? That's the pillars, the rocks.
You see it. It's foam.
How much foam? How much
foam?
A
I
lot
don't
of
know.
foam? Styrofoam or just foam?
It's styrofoam. I would have to ask Zach, and get a number or something and see if he can recall. But
how much? Like, there's certain paints that eat styrofoam, so you guys have to have like a whole set of just stationery specifically just for decorating foam, right?
Well, they did it on the fly. I mean, these guys learned. So you had like guys coming in and doing veneer stone on the side of one of these buildings, and these guys had just got done, doing the typical Kroger or Lone Star Steakhouse, very patterned, beautiful looking. And so the veneer stone would go up, and like the first couple of times we're just like, rip it down and don't use a pattern. This is like, we need to make it look bad, So it's hard. You're taking professionals that spend their whole life trying to make something look perfect, and then you tell them, okay, you got to make it look bad, So, because this wasn't our crew from the show. So what we had to do is this was a whole general contractor and a whole side project for The Chosen to create a location that The Chosen was going to go film in. So we had this whole unit here that was building and running while I and James were still running the whole show, the art for that season 3. And so we're running simultaneously with that, as well as trying to be on top of that city being built every single day. So we were in between running to our sets and everything we had to do for the show, as well as throwing on the vest and the hard hat and going to a construction site that was huge. I mean, there was 200 people on average there every single day. And it was like super hot, so there's soldiers. But the light that emanated from these people, the just spirit that they had when they were working together on that city was amazing. And then that's what I want to share, So I'm creating a Patreon page. You can go to my Patreon page, and I'm going to be talking a lot about these stories. I'm going to be talking a lot about the people that did all of this work, and just sharing those beautiful experiences that I had.
And that'll be linked. We'll put the link to that in the podcast description.
Yep. Excellent. And so, with those guys in that city, and you just go over there, and there would be circles where they're praying, So they started out their day with prayer. They were so excited to be there at the break of dawn, just to get started, and then stay there until there was no more light, And these people were there was just so much energy on that build that you felt it. You got there and you were just like, oh, this is phenomenal.
It felt important.
It felt great. There was a purpose. There was people that were brought there from all over the country that it seemed like everything they did in their life led to that moment in time, that they could utilize everything that they did in their life at that moment. Tim, he's an amazing carver, and I can include some links to his stuff or whatever too. It's just, amazing sculptor, and he hand carved so many things, these big and beautiful wooden horse heads that are in our stables. And I mean, just an amazing guy. And all the doors, like every single one of the doors was custom. Every single one of the windows was custom. Yeah. Except for the ones we bought. And James is an amazing purchaser. I mean, if there's anything he does super, super well, is that.
Yeah, just for anyone listening, so who doesn't know, that's a whole separate department.
It is.
The film, just
usually,
purchasing
he is
items.
Just so good at it, and then he knows what he wants. He can order it and he can get it there. And so the city is chock filled with so many great items, all the rope and all the vases and it's amazing. And then keeping it period as well, So, and then the tile work, that we got for in there, just amazing mosaics. And I mean, and then our artists that came in. So the contractor came in, built the city. And then our union crew came in after it was done, a handoff, and they aged it, scenicked. And well, there was a lot of scenic and aging done prior to get us set up ready for our union crew then from the Chosen TV series to come in and add their level of aging and scenic on top of that, as well as set dress, everything. So, and that was all done. The contract to build the entire thing and age and dress, the whole thing done by July, starting in February. And the whole time we're like giving tours too. So the entire time investors are coming and James and I are like the tour guys, and so I gave, 40, 50 tours myself. So, it's like, that's, you can buy me a cup of coffee in the link below for anybody that was on a tour with me.
Also, Jeff Staebler, I mean, that's an important question. You're talking about all these wonderful people that were involved and the hands that shaped the show. Yeah. What about your hands? How does Jeff Staebler find himself on The Chosen?
I'm not sure. I'm because of James, and James is a production designer that I work for.
You worked with him beforehand?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
So when he got the show,
Yep.
and then just kind of said, "I know a guy," and
Yep.
you went along with him.
I go with James, So I haven't actually gotten any art jobs other than with him. So
yeah, because you're an independent film contractor, so you wear many hats.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I can do location management. I do first AD. I've done a ton of first AD, and so I mean, I had a drop of a hat, and I can go and do first AD tomorrow. So and I enjoy it. I love first AD as well, which is great because I mean that was part of what made James and I work well together. Was that if we go on to smaller films and everything with my first AD background and everything, I help coordinate and we get things done, and so it's a matter of like, we need to keep our diversity so that I can come in and help anybody make any kind of movie from whatever role needs to be filled, so that's what I want to train a lot of these younger people too, is to keep that diversity. And at my age, I'm like 51 years old, and I'm not going to put myself into one position right now and say like, okay, I've been an art director with 20 years of experience. I'm not, but I'm an art director now that has 10 years of experience, and I can do a pretty damn good job, for you, if that's the role that you need filled for your show. And right now I've got a couple bucks in my pocket, and I'm just having conversations with people, and interesting conversations about movies and what it is that they need to have to get their show complete. And whatever that role is, I will help find the person for that role or perform that role. So it's having interesting conversations and really determining what is the project, what it is that you want to work on. Right now, I'm kind of focusing on education and AI and, how do we, get to the next steps of those things.
So what about art direction? Caught you off guard? What about when you stepped into that field? What is the thing that really took you by surprise that you didn't really expect going in?
I guess the lack of standards. You've got architectural standards in drawing and how you provide things to a construction department. So the biggest thing, I guess, is that there's multiple standards, really. So the thing is about getting like a really great construction person to do all of your building, and whether that's in Michigan or Texas or Utah, you're going to get the best carpenter. What's the most common thing between all of them? They're the best. Okay, but they all do it differently. So in Utah, they believe it's done this way. In Texas, they believe it's done this way. In Michigan, they believe it's done this way. So it's really all about, no matter what project you're on, no matter what role you're in, it's sitting down at the very beginning of the show and determining what those roles are. So if you've got $10 million, you got a pretty big org chart that you've got to fill out, and you got to make sure that you know who in those roles is doing what, right? But if you're in a very small budget, you've got a lot of things to accomplish and not a lot of people to do them. So they are going to have to do multiple roles. And so that's fine when you're doing an independent film. Everybody's looking at it going like, yeah, that's just the way it is. You're right. That's the way it is. And the same thing they say when you get to a studio. This is the way it is. It's the way it's been. It's the way it will be. So they've got a way. And then you got TV shows. They got a way. A decent size independent film, they got a way. A feature film with a huge budget, they got a way. So it's at the beginning and defining those things. And what James and I did on our show is we supported one another. What do you need? What do you need? Great. Thank you. Okay. Let's go. We got a goal to hit. This is it. We got to do it. There are no excuses. We can't sit there and say like, okay, well, we need more time, which we do. We need more information, which we do, but it's not going to stop. We have to keep going no matter what. So we found a way to work together to make sure that we get all these things done. And it took a lot.
What is the biggest misconception people have about art direction that you've come across?
Well, it's hard to say. The first season, we were on the Chosen, and James and I were going around to the events, with Dallas and the producers and stuff. And I kept, trying to push people. This is James. This is the production designer. And he kept going like, people don't know who the production designer is. They don't even know what that means, Mm-hmm. I mean, sure, they don't know what art director means. If they don't know what production designer means, they don't know what art director means. So it's one of those things that is kind of convoluted as it's gone from, a small feature to a studio film. What does an art director do? What does a production designer do? I think at this point, it's more like, let's just educate everybody on that. There is a production designer. They're amazing. And, these are the jobs they do. And all the people below them help him get that done, And so in some cases, they can afford to have an art director. In some cases, they can afford to have 3. So in season 4, I was creative art director and we had a supervising art director. And as a creative art director, I'm doing just the sets, all the builds, all of the concepts for everything that has to be created, So, and because of the amount of time, I'm working and getting things to construction, days before they need them, and then I'm on to the next thing to get them days before they need it. My whole year doesn't slow down until we get to near the very end when there's just no more to build, and then we have to start cleaning up and preparing and, what is strike and, how all this can exit. And luckily for me and James, we don't have to stick around for strike. We've got lots of people, but people that we trust, Andrew and his lead man. And, these people are going to get everything back to where it goes.
Is it like a storage facility that you guys keep things for future seasons?
Yeah. I mean, they've got an entire set dressing building, an outbuilding that's huge, 46,000 square feet or something like that. And there's a mill and there's a wardrobe, hair and makeup wardrobe building, and then a multi-purpose building where we have a cafe where we eat our lunches and stuff. So there's 4 outbuildings and a sound stage. And the sound stage was, I think, 60,000 square feet, I think.
That's actually really, really cool.
And they're building another one right now.
So I think what's interesting about it is when you got onto the show, was it already a big hit, or did you get to see the rise of it become popular?
I got to witness the rise. It was already on its way, but I was there as it just, just started going over the top. It was great.
To give people an idea of how big this show is, myself and our technical producer, if Jay, you want to cut to the Y, they give us a little peace sign. We work at a movie theater. And for the last 2 years of my professional career as a film projectionist, every so often we get a chosen premiere that shows up. And they screen the first 2 episodes or first 3 episodes, depending, of the brand new season. They did it with season 2, 3, and 4. And it is packed. There's a ton of people who come through. The theater sells out. I'll be honest, they're very clean. So thank you, chosen audience members, for leaving your theaters clean. Please continue to do so. Awesome. But it's really fun. And it's crazy that is first off happening. It's such a popular show. They're like, we're going to do our premieres in theaters. They're getting sellout tickets, which is amazing. And then on top of that, I get to speak to somebody from that show. So it's kind of like a full circle surreal. Yeah. And now I want to finish that circle by saying how does that feel knowing that your work is seen at such a large scale by so many people?
I don't know. I mean, just like any of you guys, we're all in
it's
film.
Weird, right?
Yeah, but it's we don't think about it much because,
Fair.
we have all been on big shows and they go on and do, $500 million budgets. And they go on and do great things, but to be a part of this show, I think is meant a little bit more to me, different than the other ones because of the build. That it wasn't so big at the beginning, and then it just built and built and built.
So
and
your
built.
budget got bigger with
and the budgets got bigger too, which was great because we needed it, and just to maintain the speed in which they want to try and get this stuff out to the fans is that it takes money, and if we've got a city, a city's got to be dressed, or we're taking and robbing from one set to dress another set, and there's only a day between. And it doesn't always work when we've got so many sets and so many places to be. So we had to get more dressing, more set dressing, more sets, more, all this stuff, and just keeps adding up so that we can get these deadlines, so that we can get this stuff to the theater for the fans, which is awesome. And I love it that they're doing the Fathom events at all these theaters.
Popular, man. It's very popular.
It is. It's great. And, I'm a big fan of the show. So,
and so add to that now, is there any advice you would give to someone who's starting out in the art department, or someone who's trying to get into the art department, or currently in a very similar situation to yourself, trying to like handle the chaos and the grace that comes with it? Is there any advice or industry insights you'd love to share with them?
Planning. The more time you can plan, the better. I mean, especially when you're young and you're just doing, starting out, you realize that if you're going to make a feature film or even a short film, you're working a lot ahead of time. You're prepping so much. It's not just about principal photography the day on set. It's all leading up to it. So whatever you're working on, every art director should be planning, get as much out and in front of the executive producers, the directors, the writers as you possibly can at the very beginning, so they can make decisions so that you've got more time to get everything accomplished. So it's all about, setting those expectations.
I love that. I think that's a very fair point for every department as well.
Yeah.
It's like, as soon as you put an idea out there, the quicker you do that, the quicker it's going to get notes, the quicker you can go back to the drawing board. And you realize that process is never going to be, let me spend a ton of time perfecting it before I show it, because then they have the opportunity to say no and you've lost all that time.
Yeah.
But the quicker you start that back and forth, the quicker you're both going to find that middle ground and then nail it in.
Yes.
And I love that, which I guess takes me to my favorite topic on this podcast thus far. And you are the certified expert.
Oh, no.
AI is here. The artificial intelligence has arrived, and you've done some really exciting work. I think you've done some seminars here at Motion Picture Institute in educating up-and-coming filmmakers about this technology. So I just want to give you the stage and take it away. Tell us about what to expect, what's coming, and what's here.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot here. So, I mean, it's the divergence and convergence of an idea. AI is in divergence. Right now, it's just, the world is possible. AI can do anything. So they say, right? But it's that exact thought that is keeping anybody from doing anything. It's just like, if there's too many possibilities, there are none. So it's really trying to find within AI what tools can be used to assist in doing what you already do, but just do it better, do it faster. I mean, if anything in this industry, we need a break. Our crews need a break. Anything that AI can do to help a crew member survive a film set, because we all know that, you work hard and you work some long days. It's usually pretty grueling. It's grueling work, right? And so if AI can help improve that life, a quality of life for people on set, behind the scenes in a production, I'm all for it. So it's finding those things right now. And of course, some of the things that are going to help initially with anybody making any kind of a film is those storyboards, and getting an idea of what it is that you're trying to accomplish. So even at the very, very beginning of somebody's wanting to get to pitch and get a show, visuals, and you start getting those visuals answer a lot of questions for you too, so you get some visuals for your little short story, and all of a sudden your visuals show you that it's going to take you $10,000 to make this happen because the way that you wrote it, so they're bringing light to what it is that you're going to have to accomplish. And so anything that you can use AI for to help get that done faster, more of it, the better, so, so I would say initially, use it whenever you can to do the things that have seemed monotonous to you, or you were never given enough time to really do. So these are things that are digging into tasks that you have to already accomplish. So I've already got to make the schedule. I've already got to, do all of this over here. What if I use AI to help me do these things a little faster, maybe a little bit more accurate, don't know. We'll have to see. And then a thing about AI right now is it's a little messy. You always have to check it. Never take it for what it produces. Always look at it, because it's not replacing you doing something. It's helping you do something. So you look at it, and if you just totally trust it and say like, well, it's just going to do it for me, you're going to end up with some pretty crazy stuff.
You'll be surprised.
You know? Yeah. The 6 fingers and, it's just a weird stuff. Just, they're, little artifacts everywhere. There's artifacts in the writing. There's artifacts in everything, so you really got to pay attention to what it is that you're using AI for. And initially, just to get yourself a little bit further ahead than you were before, and it's a perfect assistant to help you do that. Breaking down a script, and just saying, okay, let's have a conversation, like the back and forth about my script. Talk to me with AI, have a conversation about the 3-act structure. So some of the things that I would do at the beginning of The Chosen is I would actually take a sketch pad and I would draw some lines on it to designate time. And then I would put all the characters down the side and I would draw out their arc, their story arc. This would let me know how many of them are where's each apostle in this story. Because in the writing, you got to analyze in the story, you're just saying, okay, like these two are talking at this particular location. But it doesn't say like, oh, well, the other 5 apostles are standing right behind them, because that was in the last scene mentioned that they were walking up with them. So we just got to remember, okay, yeah, they're all still there. They're all still there. So we got to make sure, okay, now we're in this room. Now this room's got to be big enough, not just for 2 people. It's got to be big enough for camera and 6 more. And we've got scenes where we've got all the apostles, so we got like 14 people. So the sets are getting bigger to accommodate more people, more crew, more equipment, and there are more camera and everything, So at the beginning, I would use, I didn't have AI, it was so new. And that's the thing, is like a lot of the people right now are saying like, okay, well, AI, that would be super great. But I'm already doing my job, and I'm so busy doing my job, I don't have time to go and dive into AI to figure out how it's going to help me do what I'm doing better than the way I'm already doing it, which takes a lot of work, actually. It's trying to get AI to do something that you're already doing is not as easy as it seems. It takes work and takes a lot of commitment to making that happen, and then fixing all the problems that come along with it and ironing it out, getting rid of those artifacts and everything to make it something that's tangible that you could actually use to improve your time. So I never had that opportunity when I was on The Chosen, because it was never to that point where I could use it and also have the time in my already crammed, crazy day to figure out how to make it work, and how to integrate it. So now that I'm off right now and I'm working on smaller gig jobs, I've got some time to dig into it and then get into it with people that are actually doing projects right now. So that's really where I want to get, is involved in some projects where we can apply it and say like, yes, these are definitely things that we're going to do. So one of the things we are doing with AI is we're working with the chat GPTs. So the GPTs, you can create custom GPTs where the assistants that have a specific focus. So in a GPT, just like Chat GPT, you can just start a prompt and have a conversation in that one thread. In a GPT, you can actually like give it focus. Say, I want you to take these things specifically into consideration when I'm talking to you about this. So I can just say, I'm going to create a GPT specifically about filmmaking. And then so I can have a conversation with Chat GPT specifically about filmmaking with these specific things in mind, so I can load the knowledge base with information about what it is that I want to talk about with my film. And then it's got all of that already preloaded into its, machine learning. And then you ask the questions and have those conversations with Chat GPT as a filmmaker. So what in the link below, you'll be able to see the link for MPI is going to create a GPT that is going to be helpful for the students to kind of review and understand all the things that they were taught while they were here.
That's so cool.
And they can go back and reference forms and reference procedures of, how things work in the production management side of the film world. So we're making this kind of film production management. So I've got a couple, and we'll link those in the description below as well. but they're GPTs, and you can just go to them, try them. You have to have an OpenAI Pro membership, which is just, it's like $9.99 a month, but it just gives you unlimited access to the OpenAI, Open Chat GPTs and everything. So totally worth it because you can get so much more done with it than just the straight Chat GPT.
And something I love about how you're going about AI and how you're preaching it is it's very practical. And you're advocating from a firsthand experience, being on a big TV show, dealing with scheduling and dealing with the intensity that comes with the workload and how much is expected of just a person. I think a lot of people don't understand how much work goes into these big shows from an individual level.
Oh, yeah.
It's an ungodly amount of work. And it's done out of passion. This is the one time where work is done out of passion. And for a show like that, you say it yourself, the passion's tenfold. So where ChatGPT and all the other AIs come in, by alleviating that work, I love what you're promoting. And I love the idea of it just relieving that extra pressure. I see it as this great funnel. It funnels all this chaos and information into like bite-sized stuff that you can easily swipe yes or no and just decipher for yourself what your plan is. And that just makes it so much more beneficial because we hear all these horror stories in our own industry of people who work themselves into early graves, people who are sleep deprived and die in car accidents. This happens all the time in Atlanta, Los Angeles, New York, a lot of PAs. There's so much simple stuff that can be eradicated by our gift as creators, ourselves. We are creators in our own right, and we're creating this technology, and it should able us, it should help us, it should better the process. The whole point of filmmaking is to make, in your own personal pursuit, is to make your process as streamlined as possible, and AI is going to help us do that.
It can.
It makes me excited.
Yeah, totally. 100%. I think it's great. And I mean, it's just taking AI, the first step in it is just something that anybody can really do. And it's what needs to be done for a lot of people just to kind of go in there and understand what are the things that it can do for me. And a lot of people right now, they're just not going to do much other than making a cute picture of a kitty cat or something, you know? But there
Make this bunny cuter, right?
Right,
Wasn't
exactly.
that the whole thing?
Exactly. But I mean, think of like what AI can do with the things that we're already doing that haven't been affected yet. The simplest things that we do. And it's like, okay, using like Grammarly.
Oh, I love Grammarly.
I love Grammarly.
Grammarly,
too.
thank you so much for the work you do.
Thank you. Sponsor this. Okay. But we're basically, we're making it sound right and everything. Okay. Well, now with AI, how come our emails don't look any better? I mean, they should be straight up graphics piled in there with animations that are automatically created for instructional purposes. I mean, the thing is, it could be so much better, and AI can help you with that. You know, it's those next steps that are just going to make the little things we're already doing just that much better. You know, and so it's the same thing. You're thinking about, what do we do in film? You know, so at the very beginning, just the beginning of the pitch process, you can have all these visuals, you know, helping create the lookbooks, helping be able to create great communication between a director that has like no artistic skills at all whatsoever, and them be able to type in and get some sort of an image generation back that they can give to their production designer that's saying like, hey, this is what I got in my head. You know, these are kind of the things that in the direction I'm going with this. And the production designer can take it to a whole nother level. You know, but they've already got something where they can start having that conversation about, where are you at? Where am I at? You know, and now we know we're on the same page. So it's really, what else can we do that with? We can do it with budget. We can do it with roles and responsibilities, you know? And so if you write out, this is the expectation for my art department, and these are the things that need to be accomplished, you can figure out who you're going to need to make it all happen. And getting those things worked out at the very beginning, utilizing AI to help you just dot the I's, cross the T's, figure out what it is that you're going to need, is based upon what those expectations are. And when you first start out, we're having conversations all over the place with people that are just bringing a script to the table. A script, the written word, I could translate that a million ways. You know, so it's all about having those conversations right at the beginning to figure out, what does this really look like in the end, so that we're all happy. So that in the end, where there are no surprises, this is what we're getting, you know?
Jeff, I don't think I could say it better myself. It's been a pleasure having you. I want to give you some time now to just let us know where we can find you on social media, your Patreon. I'll obviously have those links down below. And then if there's anything you want to promote real quick, I'd love to hear about it.
Okay. Great. Yeah. Below, I'm going to have the only link I'm going to have is a Patreon link. I don't have any of the other social medias. Just literally being in the business too is like, I don't have the time for it. I felt like those are one of the things that I was going to push to the side to make time for other things.
You're a nomadic. I respect that.
Yes. So, but you can find me on Patreon, and there I will be talking about the things that I'm working on, as well as some of the things my friends are working on. And what I'm going to do is, because I didn't have the time while I was doing it in the last 4 years of The Chosen, is I'm going to go back and in retrospect, I'm going to be grateful for all of my opportunity that I was given. I'm going to regenerate. I'm going to generate some art for the 300 plus sets that I had the privilege of being involved with. And I'm just going to, little quick story about, what was so cool about it, and my own interpretation of kind of the sketches that were important and pivotal in making that happen, as well as just new art. Because like you were saying earlier, when you're going really fast, you don't have time to make it pretty. I mean, this is just like scribble, that, no, scribble, that, no, okay, scribble. It's like the quicker I can get to a no, the better. And so I've got some stuff that's just like quick.
Well,
so
I'm
going to take the time.
Phrase, the quicker I can get to a no, the better. I love that.
Yeah. So I'm taking the time now to go back and look at all those and generate some stuff. And so my Patreon members are going to have, a monthly image of one of the sets. And, eventually I'm just going to get all 300 of them done too. And just my reflection on such a great time and with all the people that I love. So, and then also in July, Camp Hoblitzell, we're going to be doing CHFA, which is Camp Hoblitzell Fine Arts Camp. And it's got a theater aspect and a film aspect. And there'll be a link in the description below for registration for that. As well as just the city that we built, and just a huge shout out to all of the contractors and workers that were on that, because they made it what it is. And the keys, Seth and Zach and Greg and Dan, and just all those guys working for John and John Hart, HTX. If you need anything in Texas,
that's the guy.
He's your man.
Well, look, a big congratulations to The Chosen, all 4 seasons, their continued success, and more so to you, Jeff. Congratulations.
No, thank you.
And it's been a pleasure, sir. Thank you for your wisdom, your time, and your experience. And I hope that this is the first of many conversations.
Yeah.
I would love for you to be a friend of the show.
Excellent. This has been great. Thank you.
That's it, guys. Let's talk motion picture. This podcast is brought to you by Motion Picture Institute, a film school located in Troy, Michigan. If you'd like to know more about our extensive 1-year filmmaking program, please check out the website at motionpicture.edu and schedule a tour today.